We're going live. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Recruiters with No Limits, always live and never scripted. Here's my sidekick and co-host, John Raffini. Johnny, brother, I haven't seen you forever. What's up, man?
It's great to be back on the air, Richard.
It is, man. I mean, we're pumped today, buddy. Halfway through the summer, so I got to ask you, John, how's your summer going, brother?
Summer's been good. You know, it's flying by. I can't believe that we're like halfway through July already. And I feel like I sound old when I say that, but it's just this summer's unusually going very fast.
I mean, the years are flying by, brother. Before you know it, I'll be ready for senior Social Security.
If there's any left.
Oh, you got it. Well, hey, John, the topic today, man, you know what it's all about. Healthcare, man. I mean, we've got some obstacles, struggles. So right now, brother, you take it away, man, and introduce the guest, my man.
Really psyched to have Adam Chambers from Apple Chat on today. Adam and I communicated electronically for a while and then finally got the chance to meet. I believe it was in Colorado at Staffing World when we met. And just a good guy who's really diving into the healthcare staffing world, has a lot of good insights, has a very unique business model. So really appreciate you being here, Adam.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. I've read your book and I'm a big fan. So it's great to be interviewed by you as well.
Awesome, man.
Very
so
cool.
Adam, real quick, let's hear about you, man. Give us the 2-minute tour of who is Adam Chambers.
Who is Adam Chambers? Well, I'm 26. I play the tin whistle, which is an Irish traditional instrument. And I'm from Northern Ireland, which is on the island of Ireland, but part of the UK. I'm actually sitting here now. I'll show you my beautiful cloudy horizon.
Look at that view.
Yeah. I got into staffing about 4 years ago, just after leaving college. I initiated things with a desire to live abroad and travel whilst owning my own business. And I made a bit of a foray into the world of online English teaching, which was quite big and growing at the time. And in that space, all the companies were Chinese and weren't very good at recruiting thousands of folks in America or the UK a month, as you can imagine. So I ended up creating my first business in that space, helping them recruit teachers. And it evolved from there into something a bit more impactful just before COVID into healthcare recruiting. And since COVID started just over 3 years ago, we've worked with over 100 healthcare providers in the US and Canada and placed and spoken with thousands of nurses. So it's good to be on here, and I'm excited to share a little bit more about what I do and my perspective on everything.
You know, it's interesting because there's not an abundance of people in the recruiting industry that go into it right out of school. A lot of people kind of do something else and kind of stumble into it through one way or another. Richard and I are both victims of that story. And, happily stumbled into it. But, that's pretty wild that you kind of went that course of events right out of school. Now, what prompted you to get into the healthcare end and kind of describe for us the company you've set up and kind of the model that you practice?
Yeah. So I came into it with that desire to work online because I wanted to live abroad and have a enjoyable jet-setting lifestyle while I was younger. I wanted to live in Mexico, especially, so I could learn to self-dance. And yeah, it just so happened that the most accessible online job at the time was teaching English online. And when I recognized there was a need for those companies to recruit, it just kind of made sense that I could start a business in there. Whenever about 6 months had passed, I felt the need to make a difference and to help out in a space that was more impactful. I've had health problems in the past, and I know nurses, family members, friends, and I'm sure everyone does. And seeing them get stressed out and reading about changes in the supply of nurses and the demand for healthcare services made me realize that I could take this tool and this working solution that I had for online teachers and transfer it over to something that could make a good big difference in society. So around January 2019 was when I started applying the same process that I developed of letting people apply to jobs in 60 seconds and reaching them outside of job boards through social media and other channels onto healthcare positions.
Very, very, very cool. Now your Applechat is global, but none of you sit in the same place, right?
That's true. We got team in pretty much every continent. Say like 5 different continents. We don't have a centralized office. We've always been 100% remote, work from anywhere, hire from anywhere company. And the goal there was to be able to choose from a wide pool of candidates, first of all, and then get people from day one in line with the culture of the company, which is to let work facilitate your life and work around your life rather than being your life. So it's worked out pretty well, and we have pretty good retention and employee satisfaction because people are able to make the most of their lives whilst still having an enjoyable job working from home.
I think that the approach that you've taken is you're wise beyond your years, Adam. In the sense that sometimes it takes people a long time to realize that they need to adjust and enjoy life more and kind of work to live as opposed to live to work, which in the United States is more of the norm. People, we have a live to work type of culture, which causes a lot of burnout and mental health problems. And I think that's great that you're starting from the onset saying, look, the work we do should facilitate our lifestyle, not the opposite way. So that's got to be attractive to people who are part of your company, knowing that that's kind of the philosophy from the top down. So that's impressive.
It is, man. Good stuff. So Adam, you ready for the question, man? I'm ready to drill you now, buddy. Okay. You're the genius here. So candidate attraction, we all know that in healthcare, there's a shortage. I mean, there's a shortage everywhere, but healthcare big time. How does your company attract talent to stay?
Yeah, that's the key question. So our ethos is reaching candidates where they are spending time online. So we're not just kind of laying traps on job boards only, but we're going out on social media sites that everyone uses every day, like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, phone apps and websites to get in front of them where they're actually going rather than waiting for them to actually want the job. Like there's 7 or 8 times more candidates who are in the market but not on the market. So they're what we would call passive candidates. They're not actively seeking something, but if they see an opportunity that calls upon dissatisfaction in the current position, they'll jump on it and signify their interest. That's what we specialize in. We have a platform that can reach up to 70% of nurses in a local area through our various channels outside the job boards, and we're pretty good at it. Typically, we get a cost per hire for the client of below $5,000, which is pretty favorable compared to a lot of temporary agency fees that they have been paying.
Now, do you place people on a contract basis, per diem basis, direct hire basis, or all of the above?
We only work in direct hire at the moment. 98, 99% of which are nurses. So the business model is very much focused on retain searches and recurring revenue for.
I love that.
For all of the clients' nursing positions.
That's
cool.
That's a great model. So the job boards. So you're not a fan of job boards, really? Like, you know, at least here in the United States, a lot of people, John will tell you, they rely on the job boards too much.
Richard loves job boards.
Hey, you ready for this?
He knows I'm joking.
It's like a surfboard, brother. It's expensive and it's only lasts for 15 seconds.
Yeah, I like job boards, and we use job boards. People are applying to the job boards, so that's no lie. But we think there's a much broader world than job boards. So if we can get 10 candidates on job boards, I know we can get 10 candidates on Facebook or 10 candidates on Instagram for a similar price. So it just seems logical to expand the reach to outside of job boards and do sourcing and non-job board advertising, as I would call it, to get in front of nurses where they're spending time. There's kind of that ease of use that comes with job boards for employers, where they can upload it through their ATS and it comes into their ATS, and it seems pretty simple. And I think an issue a lot of them have with going outside of job boards is they don't know how to do it correctly. They don't have that formula or simplified workflow that is easy. And where we come in is with that expertise, knowing how you set up a campaign on Facebook, for example, to actually get candidates in the door.
Well, and to your point, there's a lot of internal talent acquisition folks that are more reactive. They're just tapping into the active candidate pool, those that have their resumes out there, which is really such a small percentage of the big pie. So being able to tap into that passive pool, like you mentioned, you know, going out there, and yes, there are people on Facebook, especially in healthcare. Nurses love Facebook, and they're out there communicating with each other, but they're not necessarily putting their resumes out on job boards. So unless you're out there engaging with them, you're not going to have the chance to recruit them and work with them. So that proactive hunting mentality is where I'm sure you add a ton of value.
Yeah, we're about reaching further to where potential candidates are spending their time. That's really the essence of advertising, and job boards are limited in that respect because they can't reach quite as far as other channels. So it makes sense to be everywhere.
What do
your company's hunting? They're like a shark. You're on a hunt the whole time, brother.
What are you seeing now, Adam, as far as trends? How has the healthcare staffing climate changed pre-COVID versus post-COVID from what you're seeing?
Yeah, so we had 2 months of in it pre-COVID. So I was really summer child in the sense of coming into the business when there was a lot of orders and demands and money flowing into healthcare. So during the first year really of us being in healthcare, we grew about 5 times, and then the second year it was 2 times. Looking back in it, I think that was a real surge in demand, not the normal market conditions. And
right.
My experience was that was my normal. So now I've got this perspective of the post-COVID period, quote unquote. There's definitely less money about, particularly for recruitment teams. People on the staffing side talk about bill rates going down, and we've seen a lot less funding going into actual recruitment departments' budgets and what they can spend on job advertising. And it seems that there's been a proportional cut rather than a transfer of money from temporary staffing agencies into in-house recruitment teams. And a lot of our clients are struggling a little bit with cash flow and seeing profitability decrease.
A lot of hospitals really struggling, like you mentioned. They spent so much during COVID that in some cases it bankrupted them. And you've seen a lot of hospitals shut down or get consolidated or eliminate certain departments and services. And that's become a big focus because with the hospitals, we all know the two biggest spends are supplies and labor. So it's a matter of, how can we reduce costs and survive? And you were telling me on North America and Canada, right? That's where your client base is?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Any difference in the two as far as being affected by that trend? Is Canada doing a little better than the US or vice versa?
Yeah, I think Canada is slightly better because it's less tied to like profitability and funding for coming in from elective surgeries. So the government's really keeping that system afloat. Whereas in America, as you said, a lot of hospitals went out of business and were really focused in on the bottom line. So they're more conscious about making cuts in particular areas. But in Canada, it's seeing the same issues where the government's saying we've also spent a lot of our budget over our budget really on supporting the system. And no, we don't have as much either, so having to cut back. It's across the board. It's a struggle, but I think it's hopefully going to show agencies like mine in the staffing space how to provide a better service, care more about our current clients, and do better marketing. And then on the client side, improve their efficiencies and take some learnings from the past couple of years so that next time there is a crisis, they don't have to create so much expenditure to solve it.
Makes sense.
Yep. How about hiring managers, Adam? So I got to ask you this, and especially in healthcare, I've done a little research here, and John can jump in on this. Is it taking a lot longer for the hiring manager to make a decision? Are you guys having trouble with that?
Well, we're not really at the moment, I have to say. We're seeing pretty consistent. It's more of a client by client basis where we have the star performers that can get an offer out within a week, and then others, the candidate just gets lost in a black hole. So for us, like compared to COVID, there hasn't been too much of a difference, maybe because we're working with organizations that are a little bit smaller, so it's easier to get through to their hiring managers. And during COVID, they were kind of pressed with clinical that causes the ones that don't have a good relationship between recruitment teams and hiring managers to underperform. Those ones, that's where the hiring managers don't really respect the recruitment team as much as they should or value them. They don't have kind of like guidelines for working together or a KPI for responding back, standard operating procedures between the two. It's very much the recruitment team send the candidates and then hope that the hiring managers can get around to interviewing them. So if anyone's listening, a healthcare provider, it's really important to foster a strong relationship with your hiring managers. And we did a webinar on that on our YouTube channel. If you just look up Aptly Chat, you'll see it.
100%. I say this all the time, man. It's all about communication. Me and John preach that, with the hospitals or any company, man, you got to be tight with the hiring manager.
Well, sure, because they're making the decisions, and it comes back to what the essence of recruiting is, and that's relationships. Not just the candidate end, but on the client side, where you're dealing with the hiring managers. The better you know that person and their business, the better of an extension you will be to their business, and that makes all the sense in the world. I know on the contract side, where I play, we haven't seen a slowdown in response time. I mean, offers come quick when candidates go in there because there's such a shortage. Where we've seen the changes, there is a reduced number of open jobs, reduced number of job orders, and the hospitals are really, really concentrating on what exactly do we need and where can we spend the money on contract labor. But at the end of the day, in healthcare in general, there's still such an enormous labor shortage that this is going to be a challenge that is not going to be solved anytime soon. So it's good for recruiters.
You guys see a lot of like nurses you reach out to that say, say you got their resume and they say, you know what, I'm out of nursing. I want to go into a different field. Are you guys coming across that where they're just saying, I'm bouncing?
Well, we see a lot want to work from home, particularly. They want to bounce from the working environment. And we've spoken to a few recently that are looking to kind of transition away to something different, and they want a part-time or a per diem position whilst they're making that shift. So yes, and I know in the UK at least there was more nurses left the system than joined it last year. So nurses are still definitely trying to leave, but I think a lot of them have realized that there's money in nursing, particularly with what happened with travel nursing and COVID. So compared to during the pandemic, we're coming across less that are saying I'm switching professions.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of folks, Richard, that left the bedside, so to speak, because they just got burned out, and because of the increased workload, so high patient ratios in certain areas in certain hospitals because there's not enough staff, and they're fearing that they're not able to provide the level of care that they want. Some of them get out of nursing altogether. We've hired a bunch of them to be recruiters for nurses, which has worked out fabulous. And others are going to other more like normalized work schedules, working for doctors' offices, working for on standalone surgery centers, where it's more of a, hey, I'm working Monday through Friday and it's a fixed schedule. I don't have to worry about shifts. I don't have to worry about on call, that type of thing. But yet they're still practicing their craft. So it's definitely seeing shifts left and right, which provides opportunities for people if they want to get into nursing. Because a lot of people, not a lot, but there have been enough that have been leaving the acute care jobs and going to more traditional fixed hours, good pay opportunities. So yeah, it's definitely taken its toll on the candidate base.
You guys see like recruitment burnout in healthcare? Adam, have you seen in that where, just recruiters in healthcare are just like, they're overwhelmed at times?
During COVID, yes, I saw that. In other organizations and ours, like we always wanted to have a surplus of recruiters so that when we get a surplus of candidates, we're in there. So that's another good thing about having a fully remote team and working with various contractors,
right?
Is you can be flexible with the workforce. So within our clients, again, during COVID, yeah, but it seems that a lot of them have laid off the recruiters that they had that were maybe less able to keep up with the pace, and they've retained the ones that have been through that period and know how to deal with high pressure and high volume. So it's kind of balancing out at the moment. But during COVID, it was quite unfair on a lot of recruiters that so much emphasis and was placed on their work, but they weren't really getting much more out of it than they were on the in-house side.
What's the learning curve for healthcare, guys? What's the learning curve? John would know this pretty good. And Adam, what's like bring a recruiter in, say light industrial, never did healthcare, and you want to train them. How long does that take to get them up and running?
I'll let you answer that before I throw my 2 cents in there, Adam.
Yeah, John works in recruiter training. Well, last time I spoke to you, did so.
Yeah, still do.
Yeah. For me, we have a training course. It's like 3 to 4 weeks overall. We start them working after 2 weeks, and they can be up to speed and competent and producing like any other recruiter on our team by the end of that period. It takes the learning of the terms, definitely, the glossary, because nurses will say the acronyms like ICU or PACU, and people will need to understand what it means in order to come across as an authority and someone that the nurse will respect. So that's a really important part of it, and then also just kind of getting practicing through role plays, helping them understand the various wants and needs of nurses these days and how a lot of them feel burnt out and to be kind of inspiring to them is one of the main things that we try to train. What about you, John?
That's awesome. Yeah, the hardest part. So if you know how to recruit, you can recruit. That really doesn't change the longer you're in this business. It's learning the terms in the industry itself. I know my first year in healthcare, which was not that long ago, it was 2017. That whole year, I was a student of the game. I mean, morning, noon, and night, I was studying my butt off because, to your point, Adam, I was hearing stuff I had no idea what it meant. I'll never forget the first time I heard all these people talking about how nurses had to do a fit test. And my first thought was, why do you have to take a fitness test to be a nurse? And in reality, it's just the fit of the mask on their face. It's a fit test to make sure that they're wearing the right size mask in the hospital. And I'm like, okay, that's like a basic thing. But even something like that, if you're not familiar with it, you don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of terms. What I also find, like in most recruiting verticals, your candidates will be more than happy to educate you. But I also, on the flip side of that is, if they sniff out that you don't know anything, they're less likely to work with you. They're a pretty tough candidate base. They're very savvy with recruiters, and they can smell blood in the water, so to speak, if they get someone that's a rookie.
Oh boy!
So they know what they're doing. But long answer to your question, Richard, could someone transition? Absolutely. What's the hardest part? I agree with Adam. It's learning the industry and the terms to be able to talk the talk.
Yeah, Adam, I think I'll stay with light industrial guys. All right.
Hey, again, I've never done what you do, Richard, and I have the utmost respect for those that do it because, again, it's a different animal. It's a different animal, and you gotta want to do it, and you've gotta be able to develop those relationships. So there's so much out there with the world of recruiting. With having a totally remote team, Adam, what are your twofold questions? What are the biggest challenges with having a 100% remote team? And in side conversation, you mentioned that you make good use of virtual assistants. If you could share a little bit about how you use that technology to improve your productivity as well.
Okay. Yeah. I think the biggest challenges are communication at times. You really need to over communicate and have everyone understand that we will be sending messages that might seem too direct in one reading, but everyone has the same understanding that we're just trying to be understood. And the frequency of messages over Slack, it's kind of like Microsoft Teams, is quite high to do things, and then we get on a Zoom meeting if it's not clear. So really getting the communication nailed down is important. I think a lot of organizations are anxious about replicating their culture online, and so of them giving for return to the office. I haven't really found that to be a huge problem, given that our team are spread out across the world, because the culture for us is about being spread out across the world and not having that one place where you have to go, and instead of going there, like spending time with your family. So not a big challenge for us, but I think a lot of people over exaggerate how much that would affect the organization to not have that in-person culture, because we do have meetups whenever a few of us are in the same area, and we can still get on a Zoom call and have a chat. It's not the same.
Hey, let's all meet in Italy.
Yeah.
There you go. A little wine.
So yeah, those are the challenges. We base if someone's performing or not on their output. So don't really track someone's screen and try and keep tabs on what they're doing every minute, but measure them by what they produce.
You're looking at how many people they're putting to work.
I love that, man. It's all about putting in the football in the end zone, I call it, in America, it's like, you don't do time management. The numbers are up there, Johnny and Adam. He's good to go. Or she.
Yeah. Yeah.
Putting the football in the goal, Richard.
Yeah. In the end zone. That's 7 points. That's 7 starts, John. Hey, Adam, I'm going to ask you, okay, so LinkedIn, I know this was a little bit of a subject. So you guys use LinkedIn, correct me or not, for recruiting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Give us a little scoop on this because, everybody says LinkedIn's changing up the game. What is your company doing to overcome that, to be successful on LinkedIn?
So we create a lot of content on our main page so people can see that we're an active company that is an expert in the space. That's the first thing, because whenever they see your invite or your message, they'll see your position and what company you work at. If they're interested, they'll check out your profile and the company. So crucial to have stuff on your page so whenever they come to it, it's not an empty shop front. And then also it's kind of about quantity. You want to be able to send out a lot of connections and messages while still retaining an element of personalization to succeed. We've done the opposite of quantity, where it's very, very, very specialized in how we write up the invite and how we personalize a message. We find the quantity beat it hands down. It's not so much personalization; it's more like segmentation of the candidates. Say you have one in Ohio is group one, group two is Illinois, and then send them a message relevant to the state they're in rather than their own life story. So that's the approach we're taking, like segment them into groups, get various tools to send out a lot of invites automatically, and then turn those on and start building relationships with the candidates. Don't pitch them whenever you connect with them, but just mention how what we do, ask them what they do, try and start a conversation. See where it goes.
Thank you. No spam, guys. We say it all the time. We don't like spam unless you're from Hawaii. But yeah, did you guys ever get that, Adam? I'm sure you get that email where they say, "Hey, I want to connect," and before you know it, there's a calendar invite within, just like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we did used to do that, to be honest. We kind of learned that it worked in the short term for some, but once you run out of potential people to connect to, and you look back on your connections, at the end of it, you're not left with a lot of potential relationships that you can build and turn into sales. You have the ones that said yes, and then you have everyone else who's kind of gone cold. So right now we're pursuing more of a strategy that is about getting to know them and opening up a conversation.
It's exactly, it's funny. I'm in the process of training a new group of recruiters that started this week with us. And that's always been my philosophy, Adam. So I embrace that. It's all about just having a conversation, getting to know them as a person, not as a transaction. So my thought has always been, I can't possibly pitch you a job if I don't know what you want. So let me find out what you want, and then I can present some opportunities. So kudos to you for doing that.
That's awesome. No bullshitting. Just keep it real. Hey, Adam, I got to ask you about this AI. We got to jump into AI before we get off the show here. So ChatGPT, are you guys using that to the full?
Yeah, I love using it. We were using it to make jokes based on someone's profile. So we would look at where they went to school or their sports team, and then tell ChatGPT, make a joke about
I love it.
The thing they like is similar to healthcare, recruitment, or being a nurse. It did okay. I mean, it's not the golden bullet, so everyone shouldn't go out and copy that. But it's just amazing how dynamic the ChatGPT is and what you can create with it. So I encourage my team to use it. And whenever they sent me back stuff like in response to me that was obviously made with ChatGPT at the start, it was a little bit kind of jarring because I knew they hadn't taken the time to make a response. But then I remembered my own instruction that you should make it and then obviously edit it so it conveys the meaning that you intend for it. So I think people do need to adopt it because it's here to stay and it's going to grow into various different fields. And learn how to make the most of it and be creative with it. If you're not using ChatGPT at the moment, there's something that you could use it for, and it's been a great breakthrough for us.
It's cool. Addicting too. When I first got on, and I ain't gonna lie, I was on it all night till like 5 in the morning. It's like you could just type in anything in, and holy cow! I typed in Staffing Shark, and it was like energetic guy, you know, from Pittsburgh and West Virginia. I'm thinking this is kind of scary.
Yeah,
it wrote your bio
as well. Yeah. You can tell your problems in it,
right?
How many times you've been married, divorced? I'm like, holy cow, this thing's going right through everything.
It's pulling from everywhere. You know, it's a great engine, and you know what they're finding is what I think is amazing is if you don't like what you get back in the first set of results, you can say, nope, give me, try again, and it'll keep refining it to see if it's coming closer. It's really cool.
Yeah,
it is. Okay, so final thing, Adam. The forecast. We're going to put you on the spot as the weatherman right now. The forecast for healthcare the rest of the year. What do you think, man?
Cloudy with the chance of meatballs. I don't know. I think it's going to track really with the economy in general, because so much demand is based on how much money the hospitals have to spend on permanent recruitment and then temporary staffing. And whenever that goes down, we know recruitment's one of the first things to get cut. Whenever it goes up, they crap themselves and they're like, oh no, we need more recruiters, we need more staff, we need to meet the demand. So I think the forecast for the economy in the States is slightly uncertain, but there is good signs that it's going to be stronger in the next couple of quarters. So I'm confident by the end of the year that things will have picked up significantly compared to where they've been in the last 3 months. So I'm thinking if you want to have a date in November, we're going to see a breakthrough.
I like that.
There it is.
Yeah.
Love it. Johnny, any final thoughts, man? I know you took some notes, brother.
I did. And the one thing that stood out that Adam said early on in this show was that recruiters need to go where the talent is. Don't expect them to come to you where you want them to be. You've got to go to where they are. So in his case, he's talking about the different social media platforms, be it Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. If you know your candidate base frequents a certain site or certain platform, you need to be on that platform. Don't think that, well, they're there, but I'll get them to come over here to me. Go where the talent is. So I love that.
100%. Proactive all the way. All right, Adam, any final thoughts, brother, before we let you go across the pond here, man?
Yeah, I mean, keep it lighthearted, everyone. Like, stay upbeat, enjoy what you do, because it's what you do most of your day. If you can work from home, enjoy your family, enjoy the luxuries that provide. And if you can work in the office, enjoy being around people and having a routine and getting out of the house. I think so much about work is about enjoying life and try to have fun whilst you work.
Words to live by.
There it is right there. Hey, Adam, thanks again. Hey, Johnny, it was nice seeing you again, brother.
Likewise, Adam, thanks for joining us from Northern Ireland. Go have yourself a Guinness.
I will take.
Yeah, drink one for me too, brother.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
That's a wrap. Hey, we'll see you next week on another episode of Recruiters with No Limits. Take care.
Take care. Thanks, everybody.